Hey YouTube world, I hope everybody's doing good out there. So not a scripted video today because of the urgency of this that needs to be talked about regarding what is happening right now in LA with the deployment of the National Guard and the Marines and the ongoing anti-immigration protests. There is a certain worrying sentiment that I've begun to see going around regarding the response of Gavin Newsom, and I wanted to talk about that today. So if you don't know already, Trump has illegally seized control of the California National Guard and has deployed them to Los Angeles. The problem with that, and why I say it's illegal as it is under US law, is that the president taking control of a state's National Guard can only be done with the consent of the governor of that state. See, the National Guard are the military units of states, right? And the commander-in-chief of a National Guard unit is the governor of that state. It is not the president of the United States. So to repeat, the commander-in-chief of a National Guard unit is the governor of the state that the unit is from. And what I'm starting to see going around from some leftist commentators is them talking about how brave Gavin Newsom is for standing up to Trump, for begging to be arrested. Here is one such example of this going around from Mike Figueredo of the Humanist Report. Check it out.
You know things are bad when a governor is accusing a president of trying to incite a civil war, and the president is threatening said governor with arrest. But thankfully, Gavin Newsom's response to the threat of arrest was exactly what it should have been, which was to not back down.
He did not rule out literally arresting you, nor Mayor Bass, if you interfere in his words. He said you hadn't yet.
He's a tough guy. Why doesn't he do that? He knows where to find me. But you know what? Let your hands off 4-year-old girls that are trying to get educated. Get your hands off these poor people. They're just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes, been here 10 years. The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
Look, credit where it's due.
How about new, you crazy Dutch bastard?
So I'm sorry, Mike. I'm going to have to agree to disagree with you on this one. No credit where no credit is due. This is not a credit where credit is due moment. And honestly, I'm kind of sickened to see leftist commentary praising this man for his response to what Trump is doing. The actual brave response to what Trump is doing would have been for Gavin Newsom to fight tooth and nail to deny Trump taking over control of his National Guard. That's what would have been brave. That would have been the appropriate response, is for the commander-in-chief of the California National Guard to stand 10 toes down, go to the National Guard bases where they were deploying from, and demand that they not follow the federal government's orders, demand that they not follow Trump's orders, because they are supposed to serve the commander-in-chief, their commander-in-chief, which is the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. That's the brave response here. That's what would have been brave. Instead, what Gavin Newsom has done with his response by allowing this to happen, by instead of going to the National Guard bases and demand that the generals and commanders immediately cease what they're doing and act on his orders and not the president's, instead of doing that, he's going around whining on talk shows and putting on this performance putting on this performance to show how brave he is and how bold he is. But it's not. What he did was capitulate, allowing President Trump to take control of his National Guard units is a major capitulation, gigantic. And the problem is that if they can do it in California, the most populous state in the nation and one of the, definitely top 3 most progressive states in the nation, If it can happen to California, it can happen to every other blue state. Trump can illegally seize control of the National Guard in Oregon and New York and Washington and DC and Maine and Colorado and every other blue state. I'm sickened. I'm sickened to see people like Mike Figueredo not get this. To see him praising Gavin Newsom for how brave he's being in his response. This is not brave. This is capitulation. This is a gigantic, major capitulation to allow the National Guard units of your state to be illegally seized and taken over. It is the first major domino to fall in the full-on slide into fascism for this country. So no, do not praise Gavin Newsom for what he's doing. No, I'm sickened. People like Mike Figueredo and Kyle Kulinski and the leftist commentary circuit need to be calling this out for what it is. If Gavin Newsom will allow his National Guard to be illegally seized by the federal government, then every other blue state governor will also allow it to happen. Gavin Newsom is setting the precedent. This slide into authoritarianism, into full-on despotic fascism is not going to stop until these limp-wristed liberals who have control and power finally stand up and say, no, you're not going to seize my control of my National Guard. No, you're not going to send in 3,000 ICE Gestapo agents into my cities without my consent. But that's not what they did. They capitulated. They allowed it to happen. Then they go on the talk show circuit and put on this performance to try and rally lefties and liberals behind them and get their poll numbers up. That's not what's needed in this moment. We don't need liberal politicians going on talk shows and putting on this rhetorical performance. That's not what we need. We need Gavin Newsom at his National Guard bases demanding control back from his units, demanding that his soldiers follow his orders and not the president's, because he is their commander-in-chief. But that's not going to happen. These milquetoast, limp-wristed, do-nothing liberals are going to continue to capitulate to Trump all the way into the death camps. People need to realize what actually happened here. And what actually happened here is that Gavin Newsom capitulated to the fascist MAGA cult that is running the country by allowing his National Guard units to be seized. And instead of calling this out, leftist commentators are praising Gavin Newsom for his response. Bro, you've got to be kidding me. You're praising this guy? Gavin Newsom is the Neville Chamberlain of the American Fourth Reich. All he is doing is capitulating. If it can happen in California, it can happen in every other blue state. These leftists need to realize the gravity of the moment that we're in. And I'm sorry, but when you're praising Gavin Newsom for this BS performance he goes and puts on in the media, instead of doing what actually needs to be done, it just indicates to me that they don't grasp the enormity of the moment. They don't grasp the seriousness of this moment. They don't grasp what it's really going to take to get us out of this. It's going to take politicians with power, people like Democratic governors who have control, sole control of actual military units, standing up and fighting back. I'm not saying Gavin Newsom needs to, deploy his National Guard into, surrounding red states and start invading red states. I'm not saying that at all. And I'm not saying that he needs to, take control of his National Guard units and send them after federal troops. I'm not saying that at all. He just needs to take back control of his National Guard units and tell them to stand down and, exit out of LA. That's all that he needs to do. He could be on the phone with his National Guard commanders day and night. He could have been at the National Guard bases when they were deploying, demanding that they immediately stop illegally following the orders of the president. But he didn't do that. He let it happen. And people like Mike Figueredo are praising him for it. That's insane. No, I'm not giving credit where credit is due, because none is due. This is the first major domino to fall for America's full-blown slide into authoritarian fascism. If they can take control of the National Guard units in California and deploy them against the American people, they can do it in every blue state in this country. And I'm disgusted to see these pigs, these pig weekend warrior National Guard units following these illegal orders. Shame on them. Shame on every single one of these National Guard pigs. Shame on every single one of these fucking Marines that are deploying against their own people. Shame on every single one of these disgusting LAPD pigs who are deploying against their own people despite California having an agreement to not work with ICE. That's California legislation. And the LAPD are illegally doing it anyway. And the National Guard are following illegal orders anyway. And Gavin Newsom allowed and capitulated to the illegal seizure of control of his National Guard units. I get this is a dark moment, and lefties and minorities are looking for any shred of hope and good news and positivity in anywhere that they can find it, but misinforming and deluding your audience into thinking a horrific capitulation is actually a good thing. I'm sorry, but that's not it. That's not finding bright, the small rays of positivity and sunshine. That's just delusion. You're misinforming people. You're lulling people into a false sense of security. This was a major, gigantic capitulation to the Trump administration and the fascist takeover of this country. It's not praiseworthy. It's not good. It's not brave. It is cowardice. It is performative cowardice. People need to spread the word about what I'm saying here, because I'm not hearing this take anywhere. I'm not hearing any lefty commentators talk about how this is a major capitulation for Gavin Newsom to allow his National Guard units to be seized and taken over. I'm not hearing that take anywhere, but that's actually what happened. What Donald Trump did by taking over the California National Guard, that's illegal. The commander-in-chief of the California National Guard is the governor of California. That's actually how it works. And nobody on the left is talking about what a gigantic, monumental, titanic capitulation this was by Gavin Newsom. Spread the word. You need to post it wherever you can. You don't need to post my video. You don't need to post my video around, but just comment it. Realize what this is. Realize what actually happened here, and start talking about it. Comment it under these videos by the Humanist Report. Call out that no, Gavin Newsom is not doing a brave thing. He's not doing a good thing. He's being a coward, and he allowed the illegal seizure of his National Guard units. Nobody is talking about that. This is incredibly dangerous, unbelievably dangerous, what Gavin Newsom just allowed. What would have given me a ray of hope is if Gavin Newsom was at the National Guard bases demanding his soldiers follow his orders. That would give me hope. Seeing an actual politician with real power stopping and resisting materially what is happening. Instead, he completely capitulated and then goes on political talk shows to whine about what happened and put on this brave rhetorical performance to make himself look good, to look bold and courageous in this moment. But he's anything but. Spread the word. Gavin Newsom is a coward. He is the Neville Chamberlain of the American Fourth Reich, and he capitulated towards the fascists, and he allowed the illegal seizure of his National Guard units.